My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. Welcome back, everybody, to Meet Cool People. Eli here, and today I have Melissa Cohen with me, and she and I met at the Badass Business Summit back in September. Had just kind of a quick little sideline conversation related to everybody that was supposed to get up on stage and do like a 1-minute presentation or something. And we just had a kind of a fun conversation. And after that, we got connected, had a great chat. And so I had to bring her to come hang out today. So Melissa, thanks for coming and hanging out today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. It's so funny because as you found out, I love to promote people in the fact of, okay, you have an opportunity to get on stage, you get an opportunity to talk to people, just do it. And I remember you were just in the back, like, I'm not sure if I really want to, I'm not really ready for it. And I just kind of butted into your conversation. You remember that?
I sure do.
Yeah. So, but ended up having a really good conversation. And, it was a good event. It was a lot of fun. So, you came in, when you got into this fun world of all the stuff you do now, kind of let's go ahead and give us a little bit of background of what do you do? How do you help your people?
Yeah, sure. So I am a personal branding and LinkedIn strategist. I help people to find their voice, build their brand, and build their business predominantly on LinkedIn. But I definitely had a strange journey to getting here. It's not what I always did. I actually spent about 30 years in the fashion industry before pivoting to doing this.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit more. What did you do in the fashion industry? Because that's a crazy world.
It is a very crazy world. So I did product development and production on the manufacturing and sourcing side. So what that basically means is design would figure out what they wanted to have in the line that season, right? They would do all their sketching, they would do all their preliminary design work. The merchandising team would decide, what colors things were going to be made in, what retail prices they wanted it to be at. Then it was my job with my team to find factories that were going to make these garments. I would negotiate all of the pricing, all of the delivery parameters, and then I would basically help to troubleshoot issues throughout the development and the production cycle. Super fun. Got to travel a lot, which was probably one of the biggest perks of my job. So I got to travel to Asia 4 times a year. I got to travel to South and Central America. Every once in a while, I got to travel to Europe, which of course was always very special.
Very cool. That is awesome. So fast forward, you got out of that. You decided you launched your own consulting company before you got into the LinkedIn stuff. What was it that got you out of corporate and decided to jump into the entrepreneur world?
That would be the gift of COVID. So 2020, I lost my job. I'd been with, pretty much my dream company for over 11 years, which was Ralph Lauren. And I loved working there, but lost my job. And then the pandemic obviously was really just wreaking havoc on the fashion industry in particular, right? Nobody was buying clothes. Nobody was going anywhere. And when the job market finally started to open a little bit and I started to interview, I truthfully just had a couple of really, really tough experiences back to back. The second one was just sort of the final straw for me. Multiple rounds of interviews, being told I was their top candidate and that I would hear next steps the following Monday, only to be completely ghosted. Never heard from them again, never answered any of my follow-up emails. And I just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to put myself at someone else's mercy. I want to be the one saying yes or no to clients. And so I decided to start my own consultancy, still in the fashion space. And that was definitely the start of my career as an entrepreneur.
Very cool. And it's so funny. You and I were talking before we started the recording here, talking about how many people jumped out of, when COVID happened and so many people were just laid off, furloughed, whatever. And I mean, it was a big entrepreneur boom for a lot of people, which, it's great. It's great in that aspect. Definitely. Obviously there were some industries where there's a whole bunch of people that were not qualified to do the stuff they were doing. And we were talking about that earlier. But very different than obviously for what you're doing. You've already been doing this for as long as you have. You just went out on your own, taking that same experience, which is awesome. So what was it that took you from that to changing everything up and becoming the LinkedIn gal? I mean, that's like, now you've changed. That's very, very different in itself. So what was it that got you down that path?
Yeah. So, when I lost my job and when I realized that it wasn't going to be so easy to get another one, I went to LinkedIn, right? When you need a job, what do? You go to LinkedIn. And I had a LinkedIn account since 2008. But I had never posted. I don't think I had ever even commented on anyone's posts. I certainly was not active on the platform. And so I dusted off my profile and I started updating things and I started to connect with more people. And I even got brave enough to start commenting a little bit here and there. And then I took the big step of making a post, which made me really nauseous. And I thought I was going to throw up. And I said, oh my God, I have to take this down. It's terrible. It was really a terrible post, by the way. Like, it was awful. I went back and looked and I was like, oh my God. It's like everything I tell people not to do, but I didn't know any better. But nothing terrible happened. LinkedIn is truly a very positive platform. And so I survived. And LinkedIn actually, in many ways, really saved me during the pandemic. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was here in New York City. We were undergoing really strict lockdowns, and it was very isolating. And I started to really welcome spending time on LinkedIn. I started to recognize people that I would see there every day. And it sort of almost started to function as like a virtual water cooler or, my virtual Starbucks. And I really started to build community there. And people noticed. And even when I was doing the consulting work in the fashion industry, people would start to say to me, hey, I see what you're doing on LinkedIn. You're really soaring there. Can you teach me how to do what you did? And so I started to do that. And I really, really enjoyed it. And then I think a really big turning point was somebody actually asking me to be on their podcast, right? She reached out to me, said, I'd love to have you as a guest. Really enjoyed that conversation. And we stayed in touch after the fact. And a few weeks later, she reached out and she said, I teach this personal branding boot camp. I think you would be a phenomenal teacher. Would you be interested in doing that with me? And that was really interesting to me. I never knew that these sort of things even existed. And so I said, yes, absolutely. And it was the most fun. It was 4-week boot camp. I had so much fun. It just really made me happy to help people find their voice, because one of the biggest shocks to me when I lost my job was that I felt I had lost this huge piece of my own identity and I felt voiceless. And I never want anyone else to feel that way. And so getting the opportunity to help other people find their voice and know what they stand for and how they want to show up was just really meaningful to me. And that's kind of how it all started. And I just over time decided this is work that makes me happy. I'm at a place in my life where, I was in the fashion industry for over 30 years. It's a long time. And this change felt right.
That is awesome. And it is cool. It's like the boot camps and actually like teaching, it's very rewarding. Yeah. For me, when I first got into it, my previous company was a web and graphic design agency, and I grew that to, starting out from by myself, working out of my office at home, to was actually working out of my dining room at home, to opened up an office. I had 5 employees. We're closing 3 to 5 contracts a week, just killing it, having a great time. And then I realized I'm not really having a great time because I had to go to an office and I didn't really like my employees either. And in that process, I started seeing like workshops and things like that popping up. And I started doing workshops, teaching people how to edit their own websites. And it can be really fun. And that's what started like my whole career when it comes to speaking, coaching, all that kind of stuff. That's where it started, was because when you get out there and you realize up there, you see that aha, you see the light bulb go on above somebody's head. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's amazing. And, it took me a little while to really be proud of what I do. I'm not going to lie. I used to be very proud to say, "Oh, I'm a vice president at Ralph Lauren." Right? People
Mm-hmm.
found that interesting and found that, to be something to strive to attain. And it took me a little while to be really proud to say what I do now, because it sounded a little weird to me at first. Oh, I help people with LinkedIn. Like, what? But
Mm-hmm.
it's more than that, right? It really helps people to establish their place in social media, to
Mm-hmm.
have a voice, have a presence. Everything that's happened to me over the last 4 years has all happened because I decided to really make myself visible there and
Right.
build my brand there. And I've had so many incredible opportunities, podcasts, panels, travel, partnerships. I wrote a book with somebody that I met on LinkedIn. We wrote a book together, never having met in person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
So
cool.
it really is powerful what we can do.
Yeah. Well, and that's the key with social media in general, is that you have so much opportunity to get, first off, it's like using it as a quote unquote, it is social media. So let's use it for what that is, which is having connections, having conversations. But then on top of it, in the world of being able to position yourself and just showcase who you are and what you stand for, and adding value, like how can you provide a little nugget of wisdom to share with other people, and you got people all over the globe that get to see that. That's kind of cool, right?
It's extremely cool and it's extremely powerful. And, I love what you said. It is about sharing knowledge. And, I think sometimes LinkedIn gets a little bit of a bad reputation that, oh, it's become too much like Facebook, or, oh, it's become too much like Instagram. And, there's a little bit of that creeping in for sure, because it is social
Mm-hmm.
media and we are definitely in a more visual world now, right? LinkedIn is, for example, really pushing video content, which, brings a little bit of the, oh, it's too much like Instagram comments. But I say with absolute sincerity that LinkedIn can be the world's greatest free education if you
Mm-hmm.
use it properly. You can learn so much from the people there, from the things that they say. And it can be those really little small nuggets of wisdom, which I like to highlight every Friday. Or, people post links to long form articles, to blog posts, to white papers. There's a ton of information on the platform.
Right. Well, and that's, it's so funny that you bring that up, because like short form content, I mean, isn't LinkedIn actually starting to encourage short form content? Um, where before there's like, okay, well, videos aren't really our thing. And now they're really kind of pushing it a lot more, which I think it makes sense, because reality is, if you look at content and social media in general, it's all evolved. Like, short form content, for that quote, air quotes of short form content. So 1 minute videos, whatever, that all started on Instagram. It got popular because of TikTok, even though it was already on Facebook. It kind of just makes sense for it to come over in another piece. And I always look at, when it comes to putting stuff out there, so you can use we can use the cold term of content creation. But from content creation, when you're putting stuff out there, people think differently. People consume stuff differently. People have different time frames. And so having that mix of videos and graphics and written word is all, it's important to have, because people are not just, they just not just learn differently, but also they're in different places at different times. Like, I'm not going to watch a video while I'm standing in line to get my mocha at Starbucks, but I am going to read an article at that point, or just read a post at that point. But if I happen to be in the drive through and I'm hanging out waiting for the same thing, I might watch the video. It's because all of it has its own place.
No, I agree. And I like what you said about people learn differently, right? I am a very visual learner. That's the way I learn best.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, people are consuming content differently at different times. I think you'd be surprised how many places people do watch video. I can tell you for a fact they have no problem watching it on the New York City subway at very high volume levels. I'm always kind of like, do you not own AirPods? But
Yeah, I know some of those. I've been there before.
You're like, the whole car doesn't want to hear your video, sir. But it on LinkedIn, it is definitely a new format. And it's something that they're really pushing. I think they see that it has taken over Instagram, right? Reels are the thing. And even on YouTube, shorts have really gained a lot of popularity.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with it too, is that, I always look at every social media platform as you've got your core audience that's what they love. Like I know some people are hardcore Instagram people. I am not. Do I post on Instagram? Yes. But am I there? Am I having conversations there? Not really. For me, it's LinkedIn and Facebook. When I started doing my shorts, my 1-minute videos, I was like, I'm already making them anyway. I might as well get on TikTok. That is the only time you will see me on TikTok, is when I'm posting a video, or sometimes when my daughter sends me something that she wants me to see. But that's it. I don't ever spend time on TikTok. And I think it's like everybody has to find their place, find where their audience is, and find what works for them, and figure out which is the happy place between the two, because it's not always the best place. I know some people love Facebook, but their audience is on LinkedIn. And I'm kind of more that way, honestly. I've used more LinkedIn in the last 6 months than I probably did in the previous 6 years. And I've had an account since way early on, when they were still new. It just never resonated with me. But I do see it's changed a lot lately. It's gotten a lot more, I guess, human. And that's one of the things that I've, when I saw you and you were also in the panel at the summit, that's where I got to learn a little bit more about you too. And I'm seeing a lot more where everybody starts talking about that. It's like, okay, LinkedIn is becoming more like Facebook, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because there's a human element. People want to get to know you, not just the business stuff. And as we can say, some people think that it's just a job search site, which it isn't. It's a social connection site. That's a big difference between the mindset between the two. So with all of that said, now that we've kind of laid down the groundwork of why you should be using LinkedIn, if somebody has not been using it, think about me 6 months ago. What are some of the first things that they should probably be doing?
So the first thing you should do is really make sure that your profile looks professional. And that doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds, but it means have a good recent profile photo so people know who you are. They know what you look like. They know who they're talking to. Have a headline that explains a little bit about you, that is straightforward, right? Your headline is sort of like a very condensed version of your elevator pitch, right? It lets people know who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And then really know that LinkedIn is, as you said, it's a platform for connection. So, and that doesn't mean connecting to 1,000 people. That means the people that you are connected with, engage with them. You mentioned that you don't spend a lot of time on Instagram. I don't either. I finally joined Instagram about a month and a half ago. I entered this century. I post there, but I get very little engagement. One, I think because I'm new, but two, because that's just not a real platform of engagement. On LinkedIn, if you look at posts that I make, you'll see that I'm having conversations with people in those comments. And those conversations can go 3, 4, 5 comments back and forth. That's what I love about LinkedIn, and that's what people should be doing. Have conversations, right? One of the best lines that always stuck with me, I attended a webinar that was an interview of Dan Roth, who's the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn, and he said, content is king, but comments are the keys to the kingdom. And he's 1,000% right. Content is great. If you post good content, it's helpful. But those comments, that's where the magic happens. That's where people make relationships. That's where you make those connections that are going to lead to opportunities. And so that's the biggest piece of advice that I give everyone. Comment, have conversations, get to know the people that you're connected with on the platform.
No, that is great. And it is true. And that's one thing I don't do as well as I should, is the commenting part. I'm good at the posting. I do post pretty regularly. But the commenting part, to be perfectly honest, a lot of times I just don't have anything to say. And that's the part that I struggle with.
I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot, but I don't really have a lot to say sometimes on stuff. And it's like, okay, we need to get better at that part. But one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with in that is also how do you find like how do you find the right people? Like we'll look at like a lot of our audience is going to be entrepreneurs, business owners, some of them solopreneurs. It could be one person with a small team, two people that have, brick and mortar businesses with small teams as well. But a lot of times they're like, I just don't have time for it. And I don't know, who am I supposed to talk to? Because I don't want to just have random conversations. It's like walking into a random networking group with a bunch of people that you don't know and eating the rubber chicken, not realizing that it's not going to be a good place to hang out anyway. Right. We've all done that before. So I think I can guarantee there's at least, half the audience going, oh yeah, I did that last week. So how do we know, like, how do we find the right people to get connected to? That's really my question on this, because I think that's one thing that people also have a fear of is how do I find the right people?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have a strategy around it, right? And really give some thought around what are you looking for? Are you looking for potential clients? Are you looking for potential collaboration partners? Are you looking for a job? And so who you connect with is going to differ depending on what your answer is to that question. And then it's really, kind of thinking about different parameters that go into that. Are you looking for people in a specific geographic region? Are you only looking for people who are local to where you are? Are you looking for people in a specific part of the US or maybe a specific part of the world? Are you looking for people in a specific industry? Are you looking for people in a specific company? There's all sorts of search criteria that you can put into LinkedIn. And, you can do it through Sales Navigator, which is a premium level of LinkedIn, but you can do a less intense version of that just with regular LinkedIn. You don't even need to have premium. Just know what criteria you're looking for and, use those search terms to really filter down who you're searching for. And then look at the people that you're connected with already. Who are they connected with? Are there people in their networks that are your, ICP or your target audience?
Very good. And I like that you shared something that I thought was really important. It was going to be a question of mine is really need to pay for the next level for Sales Navigator, because that was one of the things I wasn't a fan of, is because most, like, especially with Facebook, I don't spend a huge amount of time on Facebook. I spend a lot of time in Messenger. The conversations that I'm having are huge. And so the limitations of the messaging part have gotten really frustrating, and I wasn't really sure. And I played with Navigator on, like, test it for a month and kind of see, and it was cool. Yeah. But I was like, okay, but is it worth it for me to pay for this every month? And so that's kind of, I like that you brought up, you don't necessarily have to. So, but let's talk about that for a little bit. What is it, like, the difference between the paid version, the free version, and where, what can you get away with on the free version? Because I know a lot of people, they just want to, they want to go with the free part first.
Yeah. So with full transparency, I don't have Sales Navigator. I've never had Sales Navigator. I know plenty of people who have it. They've sort of, shown me the back end of it, shown me how it works. I can see use cases for it for specific types of businesses. It's not something that I personally feel that I need at this point. So I've had free, nothing. I've had what's called Premium Career, which is a sort of more basic level of premium. And right now I have Premium Business. For me, what I find the most valuable about Premium Business is it lets you have a custom button, right? So there is a button on my LinkedIn profile that says, visit my website. And then that also shows up every time I make a post and every time I send a DM. And so when I look at my website and I look at my metrics, I can see how many people have been driven to my website through LinkedIn. And it's pretty significant. It's probably one of the highest traffic ways that people find my website. So for me, that differential between Premium Business and Premium Career was worth it for me. What I would say are the biggest benefits of Premium in general. One is that you have greater visibility into who's viewed your profile, right? And so if you're in business for yourself, especially, but also if you're in a job search, it can be really beneficial to know who's viewed your profile. And, you can use that as a method of outreach, right? You can see that somebody viewed your profile. So maybe you want to pay a little bit of attention to them. Maybe you want to reach out to them directly yourself. I think that information is really helpful. It also allows you personalized connection requests, which is a big deal for me. So when I send a connection request on LinkedIn, I like to tell that person why I want to connect. I want to say, hi, Eli. I met you at Badass Business Summit. It was great talking to you. I'd love to connect here on LinkedIn as well. I think you're probably more likely to accept that invitation than if you just got a blank invitation with no context around it. You might not remember who I am. You might not remember where we met. You might not know why I want to connect with you. You might still decide that you want to, but you very likely might not. So to me, that's a big advantage. And unfortunately, with regular LinkedIn, you are very severely limited. You only get 5 personalized invitations a month. And, that goes pretty quickly, really quickly. And then the other big advantage that I like with Premium is access to LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a surprisingly robust set of digital courses on a really wide variety of subjects. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I've taken a number of them. You can get LinkedIn certifications from them. I think it's a really nice benefit. So that's a big plus for me. The last thing that I'll mention is when you're a premium member, you get invited to certain events on the platform. They've had some really interesting conversations with some really interesting people. They just had one with Malcolm Gladwell. They had one with Richard Branson. They have one coming up with Gary Vaynerchuk. And so I really like being able to attend those events, which are for premium members.
Those are cool. That is awesome. And it's interesting because I didn't really know the difference between like the Sales Navigator version versus what you're talking about there. I thought that they were kind of the same thing because I do know that I tried the Sales Navigator, which is good from a search standpoint. It was great from a standpoint of getting very granular of who it was that I was looking for to look to connect. But it was like, okay, but I got to get this thing it's got to make sense for me to actually keep paying for it above and beyond. Okay, I got a list. That's it. The other side is like with the notes, I do know, and that's something that brings up a really good question too, is because I've known for years, like I can add a note, which is weird because I can do it from my computer. I can't do it from my phone, but I can add a note when I go to do a connection request with somebody. Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of people say, don't do that. You're less likely to get a response. And it's never made sense to me because I'm like, no, so if I met somebody somewhere, or if I listen to you on another podcast and want to connect with you, that's a great way to get in, get your foot in the door. It's like, hey, I heard you on so-and-so's podcast. I thought you said some really cool stuff. I wanted to connect with you. And I know that for me personally, I'm always telling people, send a personalized message. Don't just hit the friend request. Send a message saying, hey, I saw you speak here. I heard you over here, or so-and-so and I were talking about you, and I wanted to get connected. They said I should know you, or whatever it is. When I get those personalized messages, I am 10 times more likely to accept it right out of the gate. Not just a yes or no answer, but there are times where somebody sends me a personalized message. I will respond to them the same day, but I got 15 other people that have been sitting in the queue for 2 weeks because I'm going to go look them up before I decide if I'm going to check them out. And I'm busy. So I like that you said that. Nope.
Yeah, I don't know who told you not to send one. That's interesting. I know just from LinkedIn's own data that they share that you are much more likely to get a yes if you send a personalized note. That's one of the reasons that they limit it so much with the free version, right? They want to push you into another reason to upgrade. And you can do it from both mobile and desktop. It's just the process is a little different.
Okay.
So if you do it from your phone, don't hit connect. I'll have to look at my phone later and tell you exactly how you do, but there's you can hit 3 dots that give you a bunch of options. Mm-hmm. And one of them will come up as personalized request.
Okay.
So don't just hit that connect. Like on your desktop, you just hit connect and then it says you want to send a note.
Yeah.
That doesn't work the same on the mobile. They're completely different, just to keep you on your toes.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because that was one thing that has annoyed me, because if I'm out and about, and again, I do a lot of things like, okay, what are things that I can do in 3 or 4 minutes while I'm standing in line waiting to get a drink or whatever? And that's one of the things I'll be going through. It's like, oh yeah, I want to connect with this person. I need to send them a message or whatever. And I noticed that on my phone, I can't do that, but on my computer I can. So thank you for that. I'll definitely be looking that up and checking that out. That's good. So this has been awesome. I love the stuff that you shared here. And I think it is a lot of times people are just, they're not making use of what they can do with LinkedIn. And a lot of it is because they don't understand it. I know for the longest time, I didn't, pretty much since Microsoft bought them, I have not been a fan. And I'm like, okay, over the last 6 months, I've been like, all right, I need to start getting out here. My audience has changed a lot over the last year and a half now. So it's like, okay, I need to change. My audience is changing. I need to see where they're hanging out. And they are less likely on Facebook than they are on LinkedIn. So I've been trying to get a lot better with it. Again, I'm consistent with the posting side, got to get into the conversation. As we're wrapping up here, is there any last little nuggets or tidbits that you want to share with somebody before we wrap up here?
I mean, just know that LinkedIn is really a platform of opportunity. I mean that so sincerely. There is so much out there, whether you want to build a business, get clients, broaden your network, look for a job, write a book, be on a podcast, almost anything you want to do. There is someone on LinkedIn who can help make that journey easier.
That is awesome. I love it. Very, very cool. Okay. So we got 2 final questions as we wrap up. Okay. Last question is the easy one. How do people get a hold of you? So we'll do that one in a second. But before that, this is the Meet Cool People show. So I always like to ask my guests, what do the words meet cool people mean to you?
I like that question a lot. I would say meet cool people for me means have an open mind. Go into any situation with an open mind, willing to meet new people, meet cool people, expect that you're going to meet cool people, and you can meet cool people anywhere. It can be at a networking event. It can be at a conference. It can be in Starbucks. It could be in the grocery store. Don't be afraid to have conversations, whether they're online conversations or in-person conversations. You never know who you're going to meet and what can come out of the most random or, unexpected conversation. It can lead to incredible things.
Beautifully said. I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. Okay. So last question. This is the easy one. How can people get a hold of you?
You can find me, surprise, on LinkedIn. Please connect. And then also my website, which is my full name. So it's melissabethcohen.com.
Very cool. Awesome. So everybody get out there, go connect with Melissa. It's definitely on LinkedIn. She has some great conversations on there. She really does. Wow. Super, super active. Lots of good stuff. Thank you so much, Melissa. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Awesome. All right, everybody get out there. Have an amazing, amazing week. As always, if anything comes up I can help you with, reach out, let me know. I'll talk to you later. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.